Ngozi,
and welcome back to our channel. So today we're going to be talking about a topic that I guess is pretty relevant. I'm sure you all have heard about the college scandal that happened a few weeks ago when they found out that celebrities have been paying their children's way into university. So it's not 100% related, but this is a topic we've been wanting to talk about for a while. We realized with all the videos we have that we've put on YouTube, I don't think we've ever really shared like what we went to school for, like our journey, like, you know, what we do for a living and etc. So just to make it brief, I'm Nana. We both went to Temple for our first degree, and then we went to school again afterwards. But the main point is that basically when you're going to school, a lot of times you get caught up in like, you're not really looking at the bigger picture. You're not looking at how much does it cost, what you really want from this degree that you're getting. You're getting a degree, but what can it really do for you? What are your future goals? And of course, most people go to school right out of high school when you're really young. Like we went into college at 17. Yeah. So you're thinking about how young you are. Like you don't. I guess we'll have a video on its own about that whole like specific process. But yeah, like, you don't know anything. You think you know. Most people are going to school based on what their parents probably told them, what they think sounds fun, what they think they're good at. But then unless you went to a really good high school, you're exposed to so many different things. You don't really know what's out there. But my question I have is real quick with the college scandal, because I just wanted us to talk about that briefly. Do the kids know what their parents are doing to get them into these schools? I don't think so. I don't think the kids would know. All right, so it makes more sense. All right. Yeah. Even if they did know, it's not their fault. So I'm sure you guys have seen the title of this video. Okay, so a disclaimer is that no one is saying school is bad. Okay, no one is telling anyone not to go to school. We're all about pro-education. No one's knocking any profession because, you know, people have the issues with that. All we're saying is that school is not everything. Do your research. And school can be very overrated, especially in this society in 2019. We're going mobile. There's so much technology. You're starting to realize that there's so many other things as you get older. Like I'm starting to feel like there's so many other things, and I meet so many other people doing different things that they didn't have to spend 10 years in school to make a decent salary. They really, really didn't. And statistics have shown that Black people are one of the highly educated groups in America, but we get paid the least. So that's to show you that, you know, even though people are getting all these high degrees, people are getting masters, they're getting PhDs, they're getting bachelors, and that's awesome. But degrees do not always translate to income. They don't. Oh my gosh. They do not always translate that like to 20, income. 30 times because people don't understand. A lot of people think, oh, I want to make more money, let me go back to school. No. Or let me go to a longer program. No, or let me go for longer schooling. That is not always the case. And as you get older, you know, even I'm a registered nurse. This April 1st, oh my God, it's coming up. It makes 2 years I've been licensed. And it's just amazing to me that sometimes I thought, okay, I graduated, I have my first degree already, then I have a second bachelor's. Oh my God, like all these jobs are going to be lined up. You know, there's going to be so many opportunities. And like, it's baffling to me that there's nurses that have associate's degrees, which is a county college degree for you that may not be from here. That's a 2-year degree. And they have some of the same opportunities that I do. So you start to wonder, you're like, you know, it's great that I have this bachelor's and it's great that I went to school and I did this. But it's like, I took out all these loans to get a bachelor's, and people that don't even owe anything when an associates are making what I'm making. I'm not gonna say they don't owe anything, but they probably just owe less because you can still take out loans to go to community college. It's rare. People don't really take out loans to community college. It's going to be very inexpensive. It's a very inexpensive school. For the most part, community colleges are made for people who don't have the means to go to a 4-year institution or need to work a lot to support themselves, so it's going to be much cheaper. Okay, so basically, something Trump said a couple years ago said school is not for everyone, right? And the way he said it was arrogant. You know, he can be obnoxious. So trust me, I don't like Trump. I don't support him. But there is a bit of truth to that statement that nowadays school really isn't for everyone. And I just think that more people need to be real with themselves. And I think a gap year should be implemented in a lot of cases for people to realize what they really want to do. Rather than going to school, maybe flunking out your first year, or transferring to 2-3 different schools. Finishing in 6 years. Like, what's the point of going to school to finish in 6 years
when you could have took 1 year and finished in 4 years.
Exactly. And made some money.
There's so much pressure nowadays because everyone's going to school and we're almost like an overeducated. Yeah, it's an overeducated society. But then it's like you see people graduating from university. And I was one of them with a bachelor's degree in biology, and I was working a job that didn't even require a degree. Or you have people working at Macy's, you have people working at ShopRite, you have people working at there's a point I was applying to McDonald's and had a 4-year degree in biology. You know, so sometimes I think a lot of people are not given the right information. Like, you know, what are some things you can do outside of, let's say you graduate high school, you're not sure what you want to do. What are some things you can do before you go to college? Like, what is something else you can do and then decide whether or not you really want to go to college? And honestly, I don't really know. This is going to be a biased video because I'm a nurse. This is in pharmacy school. So honestly, what I know the best, at least to the most capacity, what I know the most is health field when it comes to health field opportunities. So I'm sure there's other things people are doing. Like I hear like electrician, plumbing. What's another one I know? Like there's a lot of other things people are doing that don't require college degrees. But nowadays it's almost as if people are scared to go into those industries like they did before because people look down on you. Now everyone just wants to say I have a college degree, whether they're using it or not, whether it's helping their life or not, whether they're making money from it or not. Like it just, this esteem nowadays that comes with saying, oh, I went to school, I have a 4-year degree. Like even I had a patient the other day, he was saying the same thing, that there's this specific technical program that his family member runs, and nowadays he cannot get people to train for it anymore. Because nobody wants to do that anymore. Nobody wants to say, oh, I'm going to a 1-year trade school after high school. You know, it's not the cool thing. It's not the popular thing. They don't fit in. People are, you know, as soon as you go to a party nowadays, the first thing people ask you, what do you do? Where'd you go to school? What do you do? What do you do? So people want to be able to say, I'm a data analyst. I'm a medical student. Oh, I'm a physical therapist. I'm a lawyer. And, you know, and you start to realize a lot of people are more caught up in the titles than they actually are in whether they like what they're doing. You know, the economical standpoint. Are they making decent money? You know, so it's just, I don't know. To me, the biggest thing is just do your research. It's 2019. No one can say they don't have access to the internet. No one can say they don't have access to Google. There's so much information out there. Like, it's back in the day, maybe things were when I was in high school, I got my phone my last year in high school. Like now 8-year-olds have phones. So it's like there's so much information, there's so much access to information that you just have to do your research. You're not just jump to something because you heard someone say it or you heard a family member say that. That's what you know, that's what you're comfortable with. So why are you in grad school then? You're saying as if you're not in school. No, I am. I'm not saying I'm not in school, but I'm saying even me, I didn't do as much research as I should have, and maybe I wouldn't have been in grad school. Maybe I would have chosen a different career path if I knew what I know now. I'm just saying you have to do your research and really just be honest with what's important to you. I'm not going to, if really having a title is important to you, there's nothing wrong with that. Exactly. Yeah. And then you go and you pursue that. But if you don't care about that, then why are you doing it just because you feel that's something you need to do? Something that takes 8 years. It's commitment. Yeah. So even if it's 4 years, that's commitment. If you don't care about 4 years, then go do something that you can get a certification in 1 year. And keep moving with your life. Like, you have to be honest with yourself as well as what's important too, because everyone has a right to have different things. Like, what's important to me may not be important to the next person. And that's fine. That's okay. Like, we're entitled to that. But I just think that in this day and age, I just feel like I can't really get the excuse if I didn't know, or I'm not. Like, you have to want to know. Like, you have to put in that time and that effort and do your research, do your homework. Like, there's so much information all the student loan debt makes it even worse. Yeah, like I'm not gonna tell people not to go to school. Like, there are benefits. I think going away for college is a very transformative part of your life. Amen. You can learn a lot as a person. You learn how to fend for yourself. You learn about the real world. You're exposed to different people and understand that everyone's gonna live life like you. So I think that is definitely a great experience. I would definitely want my kids to go away from school. Is it worth doing it for $100K in debt? I don't think so. Is it worth doing it for $200K? Maybe not. You know, like there's so many different options. You can still go to school and get a degree and get a degree that's half the price of going to every school. Doesn't cost the same. So I would just say for people to just do their research, do your homework. But if you go away from school, you're gonna have to pay money. Yeah, but it doesn't mean there has to be a lot. Every school doesn't cost the same. You can go away from school. You can go to school in your state, not a private school. Yeah, you can go to a public school. You can go to. You can still go to. We could have still went to Rutgers and lived on campus. Yeah, you can choose different. You don't apply to one school, so you apply to a few schools, and then you pick the option that works best for you. But I just don't think that a lot of people, being that school is so expensive now,
I just think it's something that you really have to think about, like, very well. It's not something you do just to do. If back in the day, it was, even if you just went to school to get a bachelor's, it was cheap. Like, even if you don't even care, it's like, what is it costing you? You don't have much to lose, but now...
Even when we went, it was much cheaper than what it is now.
So now you have a lot to lose. A lot of things to lose. So you just have to really be making an informed decision and really just... So
do you have, like, if your child told you now that they finished high school, they're not sure they want to do what they want to do, it's easy for you to come here and say this, but like, do you think you would be comfortable with your child taking a gap year and telling you they're going to stay at home and you see all your friends?
I know what I've seen in college. I've worked in the graduate office. I've seen people literally come out and drop out like flies. I've seen people barely can get a 1.0 their first year. So like, I know the struggles of university, and I know that it's not for everyone. I know that it's not for everyone at every time. That you need to go when your time is ready, when you're ready for it.
I think as long as you're going to work, even if you're going to stay home and work at Cold Stone, like as long as you're doing
something. School's not for everyone, and a lot of people, especially foreign parents, they don't want to understand that school is not for everyone. I know people who are freaking roofers and handymen, and they make so much money, and they're happy, and they're good at what they do.
Cutting down trees.
Like everyone doesn't have to go to college.
Business.
Because that's what makes it even worse. Now that everyone's going to college, and a lot of people...
It devalues it.
Just because more people are going to college doesn't necessarily mean that there's more opportunities for these people. So everyone's fighting, everyone's going to school, but it's still a saturated market, and then more jobs are not being created to meet the need to meet the amount of people that are going to get these degrees.
It's affecting our salaries because it's like right now, okay, like for example, I'm a nurse. There's so many nurses. Like I feel like it makes like everything goes up besides salaries nowadays, right? Salaries, you can go a year, your job may give you like a couple dollars an hour, but it's like they don't really have to because there's so many nurses. There's so many employees.
So you're so replaceable.
You're so replaceable versus maybe when you're in a society that, maybe back in the day, no one really went to school. So if I had this bachelor's, I was like, wow, oh my gosh, you went to school. Oh my God, we need you. No, this job could only be for someone with a BSN or this. But nowadays, it's almost as if we're becoming overeducated. Like overeducated to the point that you'll see people graduate university and they are working jobs that legit require... I was working with my biology degree. I was working as a clerk, and people told me I had a good job. And that job did not require my bachelor's degree that I had. So imagine what type of jobs people are working that even have higher degrees than me. You have people coming out doing degrees like engineering, finance, all these degrees, and then you sit around there saying that they can't find jobs. So it's almost like, okay, what's the point of me going to school to end up coming out of school and working at a job that doesn't acknowledge that I even went to school?
And just the advice I would give, because that comes back to the reason why a lot of people go to school and can't find a job. The one advice I give to anybody who actually does want to go to school and pursue higher education is to try and study something that requires a certification. Mm-hmm. Because the reason why a lot of people go to school and get bachelor's degrees and they're not able to find jobs is because they're studying subjects. You're studying psychology, it's not a job. Psychology is not a job. Anthropology is not a job. Biology is not a job.
That's my major. That was her major.
Chemistry is not a job.
Okay.
Political science is not a job.
That's true.
All these things you name that a lot of people study all these vague areas, but that's not a job. It's not specific.
It's a major.
You need to study. If you're going to go to school, I would highly suggest to do something that when you come out, you take an exam. And that sets you above others. You have a certification, you have a specialty in here. You're studying advertising or PR. That's not a job. There's nothing as an advertiser. Like we don't have those type of job. We don't have PR people. Like, yeah, you can work in those fields.
In a media company.
You can work within those fields. Mass communication is not a job. It's not a job.
And we're talking about all majors. We're talking about
doesn't mean that you can't get a job in that field. That's not what I'm saying, but it's not specific. So when you go to school, like give example, something like nurse, that's very common. You go to nurse, you take your NCLEX, you get your certification, you are a registered nurse. No one, what the job you're doing, the next person cannot do it because they don't have the certification that you have. If you go and work and you get these odd jobs, you're working as a clerk, you're working here, what you're doing, anyone else can do. You don't have any specific formal training. No one can just go and anyone can just wear a white coat and go be a doctor. You can't. I don't care how much you read. You know that guy in Florida, the fake doctor they found? I don't care how much you read or study. You cannot just say today, I'm going to walk in here, I'm going to apply to be a medical doctor, and you didn't go to school. You don't have that certification.
But you're reaching. That's a lot of training.
That's a lot of training. I'm just giving you an example why getting something that's a certification, that you need to require certification is so important, because it makes you more competitive. it sets you apart and gives you more specific job options. What makes the struggle we got in college, we both got first degrees, and we got degrees in areas that, like I said, they're not jobs, they were just subjects. So when you go apply for a job, you go, oh, let's say you have let's say you had a freaking like a, let's say you had
anthropology,
whatever. You have whatever degree, you have a liberal arts degree, whatever. It's like, okay, so what do they do? Like, what makes you stand out that I'm going to be like, you could only have this, and that type of job? Like, it's not specific enough, basically, is what I'm saying. So she's talking about her struggles she had. She had those struggles before she went to school to get to become a nurse. But if you have a certification, for the most part, you're not going to struggle like that. Trust me, it's still rough. Mm-hmm. Doesn't mean that you're going to get the job you necessarily want. Exactly. You're not going to get your ideal job.
But at least you'll have a job.
That's the myth. Another myth that people don't understand. Going to school does not just solve all your problems.
Exactly.
Now, while you're in school, you need to do the work. You need to network. You need to you need to humble yourself. Be willing to get that experience, because life is about experience. That's what it's about. And like a lot of fields, just because you go to Harvard Law and graduate, you may get a job, but you're not going to just because your schooling doesn't necessarily translate in the real world sometimes. That's what people don't understand. You could study this, you took this test, you did that, yeah, that's nice, but you have not experienced working in the real world. You're just being trained in school, being trained to kind of stimulate what a real working environment is going to be, but you don't have that knowledge and that background. So when you start working, you have to just humble yourself. I don't care how smart you are. I don't care if you're 4.0, you got straight A's, not even trying. When you get into the real world, you will have your struggles, and that's real, and you'll get through it. You'll learn it, and you'll become, and I'll even make you a better worker, will make you more competitive, will make you more employable.
All right, so let us know in the comment section how you all feel about school. Is it overrated? Is school actually more important than we're making it seem? Do you feel as if you should attain PhDs and higher degrees regardless of salary because it's your self-knowledge, and end of the day you're learning for yourself? You know, there's so many ways to look at everything. You know, would you be upset if your child told you, I don't want to go to college?
Do you wish you knew certain things before you went to school? Do you wish you knew what you knew now? What did you learn? What would you tell your kids or your friends, your family members, your nieces, your nephews? What advice would you give them?
Just in general, like, what advice do you have? Do you currently need advice in reference to, like, are you confused about what you want to go to school for? Just let us know in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and we'll see you later. Bye-bye.